All right, guys, we are ready to work on our tutorial for creating an animated GIF. And we are going to be working with an image of a wolf and making the eyes look as though it's animated. So this is the third time I've done this tutorial, so I'm hoping that this time it actually works and I get it done for you guys correctly. So let's get started with it. First thing I need you to do is open up your shared drive and get to the Sage folder. Open that up, find the folder with my name and graphic design, and there is our wolf image. So I need you to make a copy of this and put it on your desktop. So the easiest way to do that is just to drag the image over here onto your desktop, or just right click and do copy image and then send it to your desktop. I'm going to do the easy way. Just grab it, drag and drop. Go ahead and close your shared drive. And now let's open up Photoshop. So from your launch pad, Photoshop open. And we need to create a new document since we are doing something new. So go File, New. And let's go ahead and do photo as our option. We're going to go ahead and do a custom setting. So we need to change our units to pixels instead of inches. And we want the width and height to be relatively small since we are doing a GIF. We don't want it to be too large because then it's going to have a difficult time getting the image sent if you do want to send this later. So let's make our width be 900 pixels and the height is 600. And we want the orientation to be landscape. So our resolution should be at 300 pixels per inch, and we're going to keep our color mode in RGB. So the only thing we need to do before we finish this is name it. So go ahead and give this file a name that you will know. I'm going to choose Wolf Animation for mine and then hit create. So now there is our background. We're ready to take our image, drag it over on top. As soon as you have it the way you want it, go ahead and hit the check mark or enter to let the computer know you want it. And of course we have to do that all important rasterizing. So right click on the name, rasterize the layer, and we are ready to get to work on it. So now what we need to do, again, because this is a GIF, we don't want the size to be too large. So we're going to crop this image so that we just have the eyes viewable. So we need to use our crop tool, which is over here underneath the quick selection tool, or the shortcut is C. So once you click on that, you need to remember your rule of thirds and try to get the eyes so they're centered in that third part right in the middle. So I'm using my arrow keys to help me to make those fine adjustments to get it just the way I want. So when you have it the way that you want it to be, go ahead and hit the check mark or enter, and you should have your image like this with just the eyes. So now what we need to do is make a selection of the part that we want to animate. So that's going to be just the eyes. Those are the only part that we're going to have that's going to be animated. So we could use our quick selection tool and just grab the eyes, but I want to show you guys another way that you can get a selection from Photoshop. So the way that I want to show you is you go up here to select, and this time I want you to go to color range. So if you notice, this little thing popped up, and because I've done this several times, it's already preset for me, but I'm sure yours will look a little bit different. What I want you to do is you've got your eyedropper tools over here. So you're going to click on the eyes so that it'll grab the color of the eyes because that's what we want to keep. I'm going to go ahead and hit the plus button because I want to add to my selection. And I'm going to keep clicking on the parts of the eye. If you notice over here, all the parts that are dark, you want to click on that section to tell the computer to add that color to the selection that we want. So when you've got a good chunk of the eyes selected, come over here and move the fuzziness scale, and you're going to see that that's going to give you a little finer detail of what it is that you're trying to grab. So you want it to be where the eyes are white and everything else is black. So adjust your scale, keep grabbing with your eyedropper the parts that you want to help get a better selection until you have it where you just have the irises of the eyes. When you're happy with it, go ahead and click OK. And you see that we have our marching ants around the parts that we wanted. So we can go ahead and do some more refinement with this selection. So what I want you to do now is come up here to this button that says Select and Mask and click on that. So if you don't have the red here, I want you to come over here to the View mode and change it so it says Overlay. So now you can see there are some sections that we didn't get. So you could either have used your quick selection tool and just grab those, or you can have this tool do it for you. So come over here and check your Smart Radius box. And here where it says Global Refinements, we're going to adjust the smooth, feather, and contrast so that we get our eyes just the way we want. Go ahead and alter those. Make your eyes as clear as you want them to be. Keep in mind that whatever parts that you grab, that's what's going to get animated. When you have it the way that you want, go ahead and click OK. If there's parts like right there, I want to go ahead and grab that. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And I'm just going to add that with my quick selection tool. Same thing for over here. And it looks pretty good. I like the way that it looks now. So now what I need to do is make a copy of just the eyes, the selection that I have, and that is super easy. All you have to do is do Command J. So when you do Command J, you see that it made a copy and a new layer over here of just the eyes. So if I hide my regular image, now you can see that those eyes are right there. And that's what we're going to end up animating. All right, now it's time for us to actually create the animation. So in order to create the animation, I need you to go over to your Window tab up here at the top. And I want you to find the Timeline button. Mine is already on because I've done this so many times, so it was preset. So I'm going to go back and turn it back on now. So Timeline is on. And this is the part that's going to help us with actually doing our animation. So I'm going to go ahead and do full screen on that so I can see everything. So we're going to press the Create Frame Animation button, which is right here. And you notice that it put in our layer of the wolf's eyes right there. So what we need to do is do some adjustments on this because you see that it's set for just once. we don't want it to just animate once. So right here on this drop down button, I want you to change it from once to forever. And we're going to adjust the time for how long each frame is on there. And that adjustment is over here. So you see it says 0 seconds, and then there's a drop down button. So click on that, and then click to Other. We're going to make it be pretty fast. So 0.06 is what I need you to type in. 0.06, and then click OK. And now we need to add a new frame, because right now all it's going to animate is that. So in order to add a new frame over here, just like add a new layer button, we're going to add a new frame. So go ahead and click on that, and you'll see that it added the same one that we had before. So it's just adding another layer of this. So what we need to do now is hide this layer. So making sure that we're on the second frame, I want you to hide the main wolf image so that we just see the eyes. So this is going to make it toggle back and forth between the main wolf image and the eye when it does its animation. And you can test this to see what it would look like by hitting your space bar. So I'm going to hit the space bar, and you can see that it just switches back and forth between those two frames. So whenever you're done, just hit the stop button over here, because again, it's going to go on forever if you don't. So now you can see that's the basic part of the animation, but we don't have our eyes glowing, right? So now it's time to make the eyes glow. So go ahead and click on the main wolf image again so that it's not hidden on the layer. And I gotta figure out, gotta read my directions. Here we go. Over here on the layer with the wolf eyes, I want you to do a right click on the name, like we were going to rasterize it, but we're not going to rasterize. What I want you to do now is go up here to where it says Blending Options. Click on that. And we're going to do a couple things. First, we're going to add a color overlay. So over here under Styles, click on Color Overlay. And let's move this so you can see what it's doing. You can see that it already has a little glow to it. Now again, I've done this before, so it's got a preset for me. To change the color, I need you to double click on this name where it says Color Overlay. And then that gives you these options over here. So right here, I already have a red selected. I'm not sure what yours will pop up. It's probably gray. So I need you to choose a nice red color. And you can see that as I am choosing different colors, it's changing it over here. So choose a nice red color. Later maybe we can go back and you can try different colors. When you have one you want, go ahead and click OK. And it should be set to screen. So check up here. If it's not on screen, make sure you click screen. And then hit OK. Oh, actually don't hit OK yet. Sorry. If you hit OK, we're going to go back. So we're going to do one more thing. So if you did hit OK, right click it, or again, go up to blending options. We're going to do a glow. So I want you this time to go to outer glow and check that. And you can see a nice little glow over there. You can adjust the opacity if you want. I'm going to go ahead and put mine up to 100%. Let's see, what else is there? The fill opacity. I'm going to keep that the same too. If you want to change it a little bit more, then you double click here. If again yours isn't red, when you double click on the name, here's your color box picker here, so you can choose different shades of red. Should have one that's going to really emphasize a bit for what you had. I'm going to go with that one there. Click OK. You can change the spread level so that it goes out more, or the size. Depends on how much glow you want it to be. So when you are happy with it, go ahead and hit OK. And now let's test our animation again. So hit the space bar, and you can see that it's toggling back and forth between what we had with the regular eyes and now the glowing eyes. I'm going to go ahead and stop it because we're not done yet. Let's do a little bit more adjustments with it. So now we want to make sure that we add some frames to it, so it takes a little bit longer. It's not just going back and forth between those two. So what we're going to use is something called tweening, which stands for between. We're going to add some frames between these two. So we need to make sure that we have both of our frames selected. So you need to hold down Shift so that you can click on both. And then you can come over here and click on this button. That'll give you options for your animations. But the tweening button is right here. See all those little dots? That's your tween. So what we want to do is we want to tween with the selection that we have of those two frames. And let's go ahead and add 10 frames. So we'll have a total of 12 frames. There are different things that you can tween. So if you wanted to later come back and do animations where things move, that would be the position. You can change the opacity, so maybe you have something fade in or fade out. The one that we're doing is effects, so that's that color overlay and the glow. But you can keep all three of those checked, and then you can later do your animations for doing all three types of things. So go ahead and hit OK, and you see that we have all of these layers added, and Photoshop with its animations does it so that it goes gradually for that glowing. So it went ahead and made those slides for us, changing each one, altering it to make a more gradual animation for us. So this is going to make it go a little bit smoother when we animate it. Let's go ahead and test it by hitting the space bar. There you go, nice and smooth. But we're going to go ahead and tweak it a little bit more. So I'm going to stop it now. What I want you to do now is select the first frame, and we're going to select the last frame. So we're going to add some more frames in between. So this time, if you hold down Shift and click, notice that it does every single frame in between. We don't want that. We only want it to select this first one and the last one. So in order to do just the first and last, hold down Command, then click on frame 12. So now we're just going to do 1 and 12. Hit your tween button again, and we're going to do another 10 frames. So click OK. There you go. So you can see that it does a repetition of what we had. Now the very last thing that we need to do on this to get our animation correct is we're going to make the frame that has the eyes the brightest. We're going to make that one last a little bit longer. So I'm thinking it's going to be number 12. So if you click on the time button down here, I'm going to change that to 0.5. So that one's going to go, it's going to last a little bit longer. So let's see what it looks like now. You can see that it kind of slows down when it gets to that frame and lasts a little bit longer. So there you go, guys. That's it. That is our animation. So what we need to do now is save this as a GIF And if you want this to go on your iPad as a video for you to actually play, what you will need to do is go to File, Export, Render Video. All right, so we now have it. It's going to have 30 frames per second. If you want to change the quality a little bit, you can. So you see all these different options depending on what it's going to be viewed on. I just kept mine as high quality and then I sent it to my iPad and it worked just fine. So make sure you have your name. It's going to be an MP4 format. Go ahead and click Render. You could also, as I said, save this as a GIF. And what happens when you save it as a GIF, just change that to GIF, what it will do is it's going to give you copies of all of the frames, because that's what the GIF is. And then you have to have something that's a player that will put those together and play them one right after the other. So that's it. Now you guys know how to do the basic animation using Photoshop. You can always go back and try this and do other things. So once you make a selection and you make a layer, what you need to do is again right click on it, go to those blending options, and you have all these different things that you can do. So you can do a drop shadow, you can do an inner glow. If you want to change position, so you have make a selection, make a layer, and then you can change where it's located at, moving it around on your background. And then when you do that animation for the tweening, you can have it just change position. So have fun with it. Can't wait to see what else you guys create besides your animated eyes.